Let me set the scene. You have spent all week studying. You deliver a great message on Sunday, if you do say so yourself. You nail the transitions. You bring clarity, passion, and even a powerful closing story. And then Sunday afternoon comes, and Monday comes, and crickets. No emails, no hallway conversations, and as far as you can tell, no visible fruit. And deep down, if you're anything like me or most pastors, you start wondering, is this even working? Or maybe you wonder if it's even worth it. And listen, I mean, I know you're not doing this for Monday accolades. We don't preach and study and research for pats on the back. That's not what I mean. What I mean is that you just have a sense that all of the work didn't really stick or didn't move anyone forward in their faith. I mean, they were kind, they were present, they were listening, but you don't really feel like anything is really happening. That's a brutal kind of preaching pressure. And it's not like you're not trying. I mean, you care deeply. You want your sermons to make a difference, and you know that God is the difference maker. But it feels like maybe you're making it harder on him, if that's okay to say. Here's what I've seen over and over again as I coach pastors all around the world. This is not an effort issue. It's really a clarity conversation. Most pastors are preaching with passion, but without purpose. And that lack of purpose, it's what really does even make great messages forgettable. So what should we do about that? Well, it really does start with a question. And the question is not, what do I want to say? There's a much better question to ask before we even begin writing sermons. And the question is, what do I want people to do or believe or wrestle with because of this sermon? That is your purpose. That purpose becomes the sermon North Star. And listen, it shapes everything. It shapes the passage you choose, not because you're going to proof text it. We know better. But it shapes the passage you're going to teach from, the illustrations you're going to select or use, the stories that you're going to tell. It affects the tone that you're going to take in the message. And most importantly, the action that you're going to call people to take. So here's kind of how I help pastors build sermons around purpose. Just a few steps here. Here's the first step. You really start with a purpose statement. You've probably heard this in organizational leadership, a purpose statement. It's like a mission statement. For a sermon, the purpose statement is this: by the end of this message, I want people to fill in the blank. I would encourage you to even write that down at the top of your outline as you begin working on it. Or I use Evernote. I love Evernote. Maybe there's newer things that are better now, but gosh, I just love using Evernote. I've been using it for, 15 years. And so, at the top of my Evernote, I will write at the end of this message, what do I want people to, and I will fill in that blank. And it could be things like trust God's timing, or confess sin that they've been hiding, or rethink their identity through grace. I mean, there are so many things that can fill in that blank, but if you don't start with that statement, with that purpose statement, you end up not having a real purpose. You have probably preached, I know you have heard messages, sermons that just meandered everywhere, and you had no idea where this was going. Well, the reason is the person did not start with that purpose statement, and the person didn't know where they were going. They had a lot to say, they took a lot of time, but it didn't lead anybody anywhere because there wasn't a purpose. If you don't know your destination, you could say it this way, you don't start driving, right? I mean, if you're I live in Woodstock, so that's Northwest Atlanta. One of our favorite places to go as a family is Universal Studios in Orlando. We have a lot of kids. When they were younger, we would drive because flying was really expensive with 4 kids. So we would drive to Orlando. And yeah, we could go through Arkansas to get there, but why would we do that, right? We're going to take the straightest path possible because we have a purpose, and it is to get to Orlando. But we don't start driving before we know where we're going. We don't get in the car and just end up in Orlando. We have to know the destination. And that's the same thing with preaching. If you don't know where your sermon's destination is, which is the purpose, you're really not ready to preach yet. So that's step 1. Let me give you step 2. You really want to learn to structure around a journey. You want to structure your message like a story, not like a lecture. Now, I don't promote a lot of things of myself, but I do want you to know on Thursday, I am hosting what I call a pressure valve session. These are 1 hour conversations that are totally free. I host them with pastors just like you. They're live conversations where I teach a topic. Really, we talk about a specific pressure. And this month, on Thursday, we are talking about the pressure of creating and communicating memorable messages. And we're going to dig deep into this second step in that pressure valve session. We're going to talk about how to structure content like a story. We're going to start with tension. We're going to introduce the truth. We're going to have a turn, and then we're going to have a takeaway. Those are the 4 steps to creating a story as a sermon. And if you know anything about story and story architecture, you probably realized, oh, that's the common 4 elements or segments of a story arc. And stories are so sticky, right? Facts don't transform people, but stories with purpose really do. God uses stories. Jesus taught in stories. There's a lot of reason for that. So we want to structure our message like a story. We want to start with connection and tension. Those are the 2 big things that are under tension. What's the connecting common ground, and what's the pressure that people are feeling in their real life? That's what creates a tension to pay attention, to lean in. Then we want to introduce the truth, God's truth, biblical truth about that topic. Then we want to have the turn. The turn is where we begin to help people see how the truth applies in their life too. And then the takeaway is our direct application and our inspiration. Again, come Thursday, register online, go to gavinadams.com, and we will dig deep, deep, deep into those 4 segments. Okay, step number 3, you really want to preach for your people. Now, I know this may sound obvious, but your people, the ones that you're pastoring, they are not theologians. I mean, a couple of them may be, but odds are not many of them are. They're armchair theologians, possibly. But I'll tell you what they really are. They are tired. They're distracted. They're maybe even a little or a lot skeptical. This is who you're preaching to, and is who you want to preach for. So you want to design your messages with their real life struggles in mind. You want to give steps that they can actually take. Again, sermons are not about information. We use information for application because God uses application for transformation. So we want to always make sure that we're preaching an application-oriented purpose that lands where these people are, not where you are. The person who's been studying this for years and decades, who's been working on this sermon for a long time, your ability, because of your just spiritual maturity, is probably dramatically greater than the majority of people in the room. So let's make sure we meet people where they are, but let's inspire and equip them to take forward steps to make progress in their spiritual journey. 4th step, one more, 4th step. We really do, and I mentioned this earlier, the power and the importance of application is our purpose. But we want to weave application throughout this message. Now, we have a step right in our story arc that is dedicated to application, but here's what we do too often. We almost treat application like the dessert, not the meal. So we just tack it on at the end. And I mean, that's just not sufficient. We really want to weave it in or tease it early. We want to repeat it often. Use concentric circles. You may have heard that term, but maybe the way the application plays out is unique for a single person versus a married person, maybe an empty nester or a person with young children. Those are different circles, concentric circles, and how this may play out. So repeat that and then land it. And I want to say land it hard, but not like harmfully. Land it with inspiration, but land it with clarity and challenge. I mean, the moment you define purpose, the application becomes obvious. In a lot of cases, the application is the purpose. So here's your homework for this week's message. And I suspect you're prepping that this week. So here is the homework. Before you write anything, before you open your Logos Bible software or pull out your favorite commentaries, I would love for you to write that purpose statement. I'd love for you to write the purpose statement and then build your sermon backwards from that finish line. Here's what I think will happen. I think you'll bring the same amount of passion, or maybe even more, but this time you're going to have a clear target, which is so exciting to step on the platform with, isn't it? And that's how you move people. It's really not about just a strong delivery, it's about real transformation. And having that purpose statement, that's how you get there.